Nope, stop the recording. Oh, all right, well, Janessa or whoever's editing this, you're gonna listen. I don't want to deal with to mess anything up. Come on, John. Hi. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Okay. I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can.
All right, it was the explanation, the symbol in the back of 2021. I'm blind.
Oh, it's okay. No worries. You want to just, you can right click on your box and you can rename it to your name. And you have co-host permissions already.
There's a right click on.
You right click on your square, like your face, and then you can click rename. So it doesn't say Janessa.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna share my screen really quick. Hold on 1 second.
Now, what are you going through, a whole presentation? Or is it just updates?
Yeah, no, we won't have to do breakouts or anything. And don't admit anybody yet.
Okay.
Okay, I think I need to do it this way. From beginning. Where do I share my screen?
Down in the bottom.
Oh, the green button. No, no.
There we go.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Time task, time in that desk.
And it just switched.
Yep, agenda.
Okay.
So you got it?
Yeah.
We get a couple minutes, so.
Yeah. You can start letting people in now.
All right.
And you'll just have to keep an eye on that to make sure, because folks will join late.
Let's see. Amid all.
Yeah.
I muted everybody.
This is also recorded, just so folks know, per usual.
Let's see.
All right, we're gonna wait a few more minutes as folks come in. But I can get started on intros just because I want to cover everything and make sure we can have like a little discussion at the end if time allows. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ashley White. I'm the IFMA Boston's VP of Logistics and today's presenter. On the behalf of the Board of Directors, committee chairs, and volunteers who are orchestrating today's session, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today and taking the time. So I'm going to do a presentation style format, but please feel free to ask questions, or if you think of anything, feel free to interject. Want to try and make this somewhat of a discussion while we try and cover everything we can in the next hour. And if we have time at the end, we'll definitely fit in some discussion then, just because I'd love to hear others' tips, tricks, and advice. Anything that is helpful is beneficial. So I'm just going to get my screen shared. Okay. Can everybody see my screen okay? Okay.
Yep, looks good.
I'm not gonna be able to look at you guys, but hopefully I'm kind of looking at you guys. So good afternoon, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Ashley White. I'm currently the campus and facilities planner at Babson College and the current VP of Logistics for the IFMA Boston chapter, as I just said. Organization, prioritizing, and finding the time to do all that in itself can be a full-time job. Over the past 10 years in the industry, I've picked up tricks, tips, and advice that have helped me better organize myself, tasks, and goals. My goal for everyone today is to take away one thing at least that will make your life a little bit easier. And as I said, please feel free to ask questions. If you know of anything that is helpful, please let us know. All right, so we're gonna be talking about time management, prioritizing and organizing yourself, quantifying and prioritizing tasks, how to set up a prioritization matrix, distraction control, your email calendars and reminders, a filing system, note-taking, and some tools that can help you with all of these things. And I apologize, I have a cough. I am getting over a cold and it was not COVID. So time management, the first thing I want to say is no one in existence has perfect time management, and that's okay. Literally no one on this earth has that. You want to take the time up front to walk through steps and identify tasks that will help you accomplish your project goal. It can be easy to overlook steps in a project or a task if you skip this initial step of looking at the project as a whole. Once you have this roadmap, you'll be better able to prioritize your tasks, which we'll discuss further. If you don't have a regular one-on-one with your supervisor, I highly suggest taking the time to set up at least a once a month connection meeting. This will ensure you time to discuss your priorities and confirm you're both on the same page. One of the things I find really hard is to be realistic with myself on how long tasks will take, because I tend to forget, other projects I'm working on, or just those unexpected stuff that comes up that happens all the time in facilities. So the key thing is to be realistic of your expectations on your projects, making sure you communicate those expectations to the stakeholders in that project and keeping them appraised if things change. Definitely find people are more apt to delays if they know in advance, rather than going them day of due and saying, yeah, I'm not going to be able to finish this today for you. Try scheduling only 30-minute meetings instead of 60-minute meetings. This can be difficult to do for a lot of things, especially for what we do when it's, a construction project or something. But I've found that scheduling that 30 minutes really makes people hyper-focus on what the meeting's about and what you need to discuss. Send out your agenda in advance and set aside time for topics if you're able to do that, so that way it helps progress the meeting. Plan out your day as much as you can. That is a laughable statement, I think, for all of us in facilities. But when you do this, you're at least better able to manage those unexpected times. Utilize time management tools, which we'll discuss later on in this presentation, to help you manage all these priorities and organize yourself. Do not multitask. We all want to do it because we have a million things to do, but your brain cannot function effectively on any task when you do that. Everyone has their own productive times. I think mine range between like 9:30 and 11 a.m. and then like 3 to 4 p.m. and then sometime in the night as well. So the best thing you can do is find your own productive times and use these times to set aside for the most draining of tasks. It's basically that time when you feel like, this is how I wish I was all day, or this is how I wish I was every day. Those are the times where you want to set aside the task you don't want to do, the task that's going to take a long time, because your brain will be hyper-focused already. And then limiting distractions, and we'll talk about that a little more. And then finally, take breaks. They are necessary for your productivity, and if you don't do that, your brain will just turn to mush by the afternoon. All right, so prioritizing and organizing. So just like in all relationships in our life, we need to create and maintain boundaries at work. If you keep your communication open with your supervisor, it will aid in you maintaining those boundaries. Another thing is learning to say no, which I feel like is very difficult for anyone to do in their job. And what I say to that is, it's not always saying no, but it's learning to ask the right questions. So something like, I understand the importance of this project, but want to make sure my current tasks are addressed appropriately, and I may not have the bandwidth to accomplish all of these effectively. And work with your supervisor through that so they can better understand that you might not have the bandwidth to do the task they're asking you to do. Your supervisor's goal is your success. So waiting until there's a problem is not good for either you or your supervisor. Develop a prioritization matrix or roadmap for how to accomplish the goals. Declutter your desk the best you can. Even when you're not thinking about it, your brain's thinking about it. Your brain's thinking how much stuff's on your desk and how much it's affecting the current task you're working on. So I always take some time at the end of the day to make sure that I come into a clean desk the next morning, just like I make my bed in the morning, so I come home to a made bed at the end of the day. If there is emails that come in as requests and multiple people in your department need to look at those. So for instance, like a work order email and you and your entire department are looking at that, make sure you have a shared, say, inbox for those type of requests. You don't want to clutter up your inbox with things that could be in a shared inbox where everyone then can access and utilize that. And then filing structures are important to set up for your success and your department's success. And we'll talk about all of this stuff more in detail throughout. So Mark Twain once said, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. So when you're looking at a goal or a task or a project, you want to determine that specific item's overall goal. Identify those supporting tasks that will help you achieve that goal. This will help you better understand what's needed for the project from a resource perspective, like your time, and also give you a chance to go back to your supervisor with questions on any gaps you have in that roadmap. These identified tasks will create a project roadmap, and then you will want to rank them by deadline, impact, or level of effort. Plot everything on a prioritization matrix and transfer tasks to some type of organization tool, whether that's your email with reminders in your calendar or an app or something like that. A tip for smaller tasks is utilize tools in your email to track the progress, like reminders. That way you don't have to put everything into a tool, which will kind of make it cumbersome. So this is an example of prioritization matrix. I divvied it up by level of effort and then also, deadline focused. But quick wins are high level tasks and unforeseen or procrastinated projects being critical or urgent to complete. You need to do those first. Up here in that upper left-hand corner. The major projects are high value tasks, but not necessarily clear or firm deadlines. They aren't necessarily time sensitive, and building those deadlines and checkpoints will help move those from that major projects to the quick wins category. Fill-ins are less important tasks with loose deadlines. Filler tasks can be easily prioritized or delegated, and then delegate or decline the tasks if you can. And then thankless tasks, which we all get in this world of facilities, are time-consuming tasks with little impact on business ROI. Whenever possible, try to avoid adding these tasks to your schedule so they don't distract from a more high-value work. It's really the 80-20 rule, but it helps you focus and hone in on really what your focus should be, either quickly or in the next few days, and to work through everything coming down the pike. All right, so I'm gonna ask folks to unmute, and if you could let me know some distractions that you face in your day-to-day at work or remote working. For me, it's my social media. Does anyone else have any other distractions in their day-to-day?
Children.
Oh no, what happened? I don't know what's going on. Something's going on.
The infamous, hey, do you got a second?
Something happened. It just added a bunch of slides to my PowerPoint for no reason. Sorry guys, bear with me. It wouldn't be a meeting without technical difficulties. Okay, distractions. Oh, current slide. All right, distractions. Children, yes, children is a good one.
Emergencies.
Emergencies, that's a huge one in our industry, yeah. What about your emails or your coworker that stops to your desk that's not your child? All right, so we all have distractions. No one is without them in their life. Identifying those distractions and where you waste time is key to help managing them. It is never a shut off scenario with all distractions. So things that help are turning off your notifications, either on your email or your computer or your phone. This will help stop those, pick up the phone, look at it, put it down. Those add up over the day. In Chrome, for instance, you can set up a separate browser. So I have a work only browsing. So I have a Chrome extension in there that helps me stay focused and everything, and also has less of the links in that I would want to access in my free time. Focusing on one task at a time. We already talked about not multitasking. Set aside dedicated time for each task. You should be scheduling priorities, not prioritizing around your schedule. Clean and clear your desk, which we already talked about. I delete my social media during the week because it can be such a huge distraction for me. I'm sure not everyone does this, but I am part of an 8-person group chat with my girlfriends. So I, make sure those notifications are off during certain times. Put a sign on your work area or your door to let coworkers know you're really focusing on downtime and don't have any extra time at the moment to, chat unless it's an emergency. And use technology to your advantage, like restrictive apps on your phone. If you don't want to delete social media, you can download apps that will, restrict the access of apps, social media apps between certain hours. Or I have a Chrome extension that, I can't search Reddit or Instagram between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. because I can get sucked in during my break time. All right, so I use Outlook. I'm sure a lot of us use Outlook, but Gmail has a lot of these features too. They're just called different things. So one of the biggest thing that's helped me is the categories feature. I think in Gmail it's called labels. But what this does is create a level that will help you search in your inbox. So just like you can search, subject with the colon symbol, and then put a word associated with the subject that helps narrow it down. You can do the same thing with categories. And I mention categories because my goal is to have as little folders as possible. When I first started my career, I had a folder, and then that folder had a subfolder, and that subfolder had like 3 folders. And then in those 3 folders, there were 4 subfolders. And after a while, you A, can't keep up with organizing your email or documents to get them in that type of filing system. And B, when you go to search for it, you're not going to those folders. You're going up to the search bar and searching in your search bar for keywords and what have you. So my folders are limited to to-dos, yearly, fiscal years, space, because that's a high reference folder for me, Babson News, because we get company emails, stuff like that. So you want to limit the number of folders you have. A good place to start is having yearly folders, a to-do folder, company announcement folder, and any high reference folders, whether that's space, like for me, or you have a couple construction projects that really just need all the emails in an easy access place to focus on. The less folders you have, the easier it will be to organize your inbox. And the goal should always be a 0 inbox, which is why I have the to-do folder. The to-do folder allows me to put anything that's pending outside of my inbox. Now, do I always have a 0 inbox? Of course not. I never have a 0 inbox. I always have at least 50 emails in my inbox. But I know some people who have 10,000 emails in their inbox, and getting to that point can be overwhelming and hard for you to do your job. Something I get that I'm sure a lot of us do are emails from programs. So like we get emails when a work order is generated and things happen with that work order, or some people get emails for accounting software, what have you. If you get emails from a program, I highly recommend creating a rule for it, or any emails that are reoccurring that you don't necessarily need to look at right away. If it's emails you need to reference, but it's coming from a program, make a separate folder for it. Create it as one of your high reference folders, create a rule for it. So it's something you can easily go look at, not have to go searching for in a high reference folder, but it's not cluttering up your main inbox. And then when you look at the calendars, mine's really colorful, and that's because my categories are color associated. Both labels and categories do that. So that way, when I'm setting up a meeting or I receive a meeting invitation, I always categorize it. So that way, when I'm looking at my calendar for next week, even without really looking into what the meeting's about, I can look at the color that that meeting is and understand what I'm looking at for the next week. And then reminders. So Outlook has reminders. I'm pretty sure Gmail has reminders too, but I use the reminders for any tasks that are quick hitters things that I'm not going to put in an organizational tool. That's stuff that comes in one-off. You're not going to want to put every single thing you have in a prioritization matrix, because there's just things that take like 2 minutes to do, you know, that you have to follow up on something or create an email or any of that. So the reminders help me get those quick hitters out of the way with a notification to me that it hasn't been done if I don't get to it, without having to spend all the extra time getting it into a matrix or into an organizational tool. All right, filing systems. So the goal, just like for filing system, is the least amount of folders and the least amount of documents you need or will reference. So you want your categories and subcategories to be limited and in a shared space. High level should have minimum folders. And then you look at color coding, just like with the categories. Now this is tougher on shared drives, like IT shared drive just on your screen. But with Google Drive and other things like that, there are options to do color coding. And also in file systems that are paper, like in person, you're holding it. It takes a minute to set up, but color coding, just like in your emails, can really help you narrow down the search when you're looking for something, or when someone else is looking for something. And the key to any filing convention, for digital anyway, is naming conventions for your documents. So in a lot of companies, if you have a shared drive and multiple people in that department share that shared drive, you'll have folks just drag and drop documents from their email, you know, to that drive without taking the time to rename the document. And we all know, you know, I'll get a document from an architect that's like E067531. Literally means nothing to us, maybe to the architect. And just dragging and dropping that doesn't help anyone, because that document's now a ghost document in that shared drive. You want to make sure you call out names, vendor, projects, dates, any high level information in those naming conventions for documents. So that way, if someone searches for it later, it's easy to find, or if they're going through and looking at documents, they kind of know what they're looking at. Avoid overfilling files. So a document retention plan can actually help with that. So if things start to go into an archival phase after 5 or 10 years, creating an archival document or creating separate fiscal year folders as needed, or separate vendor folders, or project milestones or project categories, but whatever works best. But you want to make sure, as documents are becoming less and less relevant, they are phased out of that system in some capacity. There should be scheduled maintenance checks, and then also communicating to users in the beginning of the process, working through it, and also when you notice things are awry in the system, fix them and then talk to people about it. And then anyone who knows me knows I'm an obsessive note taker. I bullet journal for fun. Literally, it is a hobby and I like doing it. But this is, I included this because I think it aids into everything, the filing system and stuff like that. If you're a digital person, there's tools for note taking like OneNote or Penzi or whatever it's called. But I like writing my notes, and if you do, there's multiple methods to do that, which I call out here, the outline, the Cornell, mind mapping, flow notes, and they're all kind of visually shown on the right. But finding, and this is a trial by fire, trial by error type situation, but finding what note method works best for you. For me, it's the flow method. Will help you better take notes in those meetings and more effectively follow up with things after those meetings. So it's really just, I would take the time to research this, and maybe if you don't know what method you like to use for notes, try and figure out that method, so that way the next time you're in a meeting, you're leaving that meeting feeling a little better than when you went into it. And then these are just an example of a plethora amount of tools that are available for these types of things. So we talked about Outlook and Gmail and using those types of tools in your email to really help you effectively manage, utilize, and control all of these items. Trello, Asana, and Pomodoro are really like project management type applications, in the sense, for me, I do my prioritization matrix. And then once I have that, I'm going into Pomodoro, which is my app. I have it on my phone and I have it as a Chrome extension. And I have categories in there, just like in my Outlook. And I'll go through and put in all the tasks associated with certain projects. And there's reminders in there. And I like that method because it sets timers and it's only 25-minute focuses. So you take breaks and it makes sure you take breaks. But all of these would be effective in utilizing those types of programs. But whatever, it's really just finding whatever works for you, which is unfortunately trial by error. I mentioned shared drives, which can either be from your IT department or a Google Drive where you can work in real time. And then some note-taking apps, the Penzo and the Microsoft OneNote. How do I get started? I have so many emails and I have no idea how to go through all of this right now. Well, first of all, take a second to breathe because it's overwhelming for everyone. And take it one step at a time. The past can be very overwhelming, and there has been times where, I came back from a 2-week vacation and I had 7,000 emails or something, a little exaggerated. And, instead of freaking out about not being able to attack the organization then, or maybe ever, put it in its own folder. If the past is overwhelming you, it's the past. You don't have to start going through everything you've already done to accomplish organization. Get it in its own folder, get it away from your eyes, start fresh today. It doesn't have to be like from the get-go. Communicate to everyone around you, whether it's the stakeholders you're working on with for a project, your supervisor, or your peers. It's going to give you the best results. Determine your productive times, which we talked about. So that way you can start doing those draining tasks or longer tasks accentuated around those times, minus the fact that we all have a million meetings that are scheduled throughout our day. Do research on your note-taking, filing, and then tools to see what will work best for you. Everyone's different. Like I said, it's trial and error. Start with one goal, one task, and build from there. It can be overwhelming, but taking the time is going to help you, your team, your supervisor finalize and complete those projects. And then I also wanted to put books that I've either read or on my list to read that I have found very helpful, or others have told me are going to be very helpful, just because I think all of this stuff we know, or we know some of it, but hearing it in a concise manner can sometimes help us really put the big picture together. And like I said, the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So I'm going to stop sharing because this is the fun part where we all get to talk and discuss. And I want to hear everyone else's tips and tricks of the trade so I can incorporate them into my life and make it easier. And others can too. So definitely feel free to hop on. Sorry for the boring part.
Hey, Ashley, it's Athena. I was curious on your prioritization matrix, how often are you going in and touching on that and refreshing it? Because I use something similar for myself. And I think it's gotten a cobweb on it or two over the past week or so. But the goal is, and what I typically, and under normal circumstances, it's like a Monday morning kind of thing, like refresh it, touch on it, get it, get things set up and organized, and then kind of work through it through the week. And then it moves to each column. I have it column based, like 4 columns.
Yes.
Like things to do, what's in progress, what needs some guidance, and then what's closed out. And then I move it through from left to right. And then, so with that being said, for yours, how often do you, go in, refresh, or start your week with it?
Yeah, so I try and do it at least once a week. There are weeks where I have to do it twice a week just because of how much shift changes in our world and priorities can change in our world. But I think once a week will catch all of the things that are shifting because if you go to like a month on that type of thing, so much can happen in a day in our world, let alone a week. If you start going beyond that, it really makes it difficult for you to understand what you're working through and how do you effectively then communicate that to your boss, like what your needs are and resources and everything.
Yeah, totally.
That didn't really help that much, but that's okay. So yeah, that's what I would say, at least once a week. I think that will give you the best bang for the buck in terms of that. And it doesn't have to look the way I had it. It should be just columns or something. But it's just enough to get you through. I don't know if I can actually fully turn this and show you guys. But I have this whiteboard in my office and it says sprint to the success on the top, which doesn't really matter. I just made it pretty, but it's actually a 2-week sprint. So that's Monday all the way over there. And then it goes to Friday and the same below, Monday to Friday. So that's honestly my prioritization matrix, is that thing, which is, again, it doesn't look like the one I showed you. It can be any options, but I do that one once every 2 weeks, once a week. Sorry, I do that once a week, but it shows 2 weeks.
Hey, Ashley, this is Phil. We have Outlook, and I use the reminder and the follow-up flags.
Yes.
Because, who can remember everything, right? So I can push stuff out 2 weeks and not have to sweat it. And then the system will, it'll remind me and whatnot. So I found that very helpful. And it ties into the task listing that you can reach through the Outlook calendar or just below it. I find that to be extremely helpful as well. So
I agree. That's what I was getting at with all of those like little one hitters that take not too much time, or like you said, when something's 2 weeks out and it's just a follow-up, it's not something you're going to put in your giant prioritization matrix, but it's something you can't let fall off your radar. So the reminders will really help you make sure that, in 2 or 3 weeks, that's not something you're forgetting to do.
yeah, and I usually do them first thing in the morning, so it's out of the way. So
Yeah.
into 12 a day, and then kind of tick through them all, and then that's behind me for the rest of the day. Because as you said earlier, who knows what the day is going to bring, right?
Exactly. And I shared my that was just a screenshot of my calendar with all those colors on it. That was a really good week of me planning and it actually happening. But that was literally 2 months ago, and I haven't had a week like that since. So as good as we all can be, we can only be good as our bandwidth allows and our jobs allow, because of the nature of what facilities is.
I'm with you on the inbox management, Ashley. I've gotten to the point where I've really been able to nail down like managing my inbox, but I use my inbox almost as its own to-do list, which is if it's in the inbox and I touch that email, I need to handle it or mark it back new again. And then once I've handled it, responded, whatever the necessary thing is, then it's either archive, delete, or move into the folder it needs to be in. And so the inbox stays essentially like this should be less than 10 things in there at any given time and less.
Yes. Yeah, that was my whole goal with like that to-do folder. If you create that kind of folder, realistically, you could get your inbox to a 0. It will never happen, but realistically you could.
If I move my to-do in another folder and don't see it, then I won't do it. But if I
also get that.
if I have it as an active like inbox item and I know my inbox is heavy, then it's like, okay, I've got to handle this. Or if you keep reflagging or something, but it's either delete, archive, or move it, or it sits.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you said that thing. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, if I make a folder, it's just going to go away.
Oh yeah, it's done.
Yeah. I second Phil's flags. My favorite part about that is
But at the same
when you
time,
get a
I'm sorry.
No, my favorite part is on the phone that you can flag it for later, and it just goes right into your file. So it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I've gone to somebody that works with us and they've got like 1,500 emails in their inbox. And I say, how can you manage that? That's anytime you want to try to find something, they're going, they got to scroll through or search through 1,500 emails. So I think if you have more than 20 in your inbox, you should probably rethink of how you're using Outlook as a tool, honestly. So
Unless your inbox is your running to-do list, like,
Thanks for calling me out, Phil. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Or what's another hot button I've learned that I really like is snooze. So if it's one of those items where it's like, okay, this is not like a right now, but it needs to pop back up soon or this week or another day, and then I just snooze it. And then sure, when I need to revisit it, see if it's something that's changed over the day or so, then it comes back into my inbox. And then now I have to reallocate it. Like where will it go?
depending on whether I like you or not, it depends on the number of times snooze button gets clicked, right?
I love that we just incorporated that morning routine of snoozing into our work lives.
We'll snooze.
Yes.
Snooze out. Yep.
You can also, I don't know anyone that knows this. I do because I'm a computer nerd, but you can change your Outlook sounds. So when I have a meeting, my Outlook sound is the Mr. Pac-Man dying. Just because it's jarring and I like, and then I know it's coming.
What does that sound like, Ashley?
It's like, doo, wah, wah. You know?
How's it go again? I didn't quite get that.
Yeah, okay, Phil.
That was good. That was good.
Thanks. But even changing sounds to things that you enjoy makes notifications a little more fun and less annoying and jarring. The deleting social media off my phone during the week is really, as a millennial, has helped me drastically.
I second that. I've been doing that lately.
Yeah, it's been great.
Does anybody else set timers for tasks? Like I do 15-minute based timers in order to like stay focused on some of those difficult tasks, like the long drawn out ones.
Yeah, that's that. So Pomodoro is what I use, and they do 25-minute time. I recommend, honestly, if you like doing timer-based tasks like that, looking into Pomodoro, that Pomodoro app. It's amazing. But I love doing time. I think everyone should do time things because it makes the 25 minutes you're working on it. You have an end time. It's not like I'm here for the next 8 hours working. It's like I'm working on this task the next 25 minutes. And then I get a 5-minute break or a 10-minute break or whatever. And I'll get up and walk around. So I'm moving my body. Definitely don't spend 3 hours at your desk on one task. It's not good for you. It's not good for the task. It's not good for the project or your company. We got 20 minutes. I did go kind of fast, honestly. I am a fast talker.
I will say this, I think, outside of like work-based things, I do think everyone should factor in some like wellness time within that day, either standing, stepping away, working out, like something that is like non-business task related.
So this is why I bullet journal for fun.
Oh, look at that.
These are blank pages.
What does bullet journal mean?
So it's just a planner. So I've got like I've got my months all laid out. And then I got my weekly tracking, my habit tracking, my events I have to get to, my tasks I have to do. But this is how I set it up. They're blank pages. I just draw on them.
Jeez, I feel guilty.
Ashley, do you mix personal and work in there?
So I've played with so many different things just in this one book. I wish I could talk through all of it. No, and yes. So for a while I had both in here, but when I started doing stuff on that board, I stopped doing it in here. But if my new job, oh yeah, I'm getting a new job, by the way. Everyone knows at my work, so it's okay. But at my new job, if I don't have a board, I'll probably start doing it in my bullet journal again, just because that's how I do my prioritization matrix. Doing that is so helpful.
Where are you going?
So I'm going to, I'm going to be with Preza, which if you don't know, that's like, it's like JL or CBRE. It's like third party. And I'll be with the Takeda. I'll be supporting Takeda as the client.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was like, I'm going to put that I work at Aspen College on this presentation, but it's only for like another week and a half, but that's okay.
Congrats, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think that I like that you're using that. I use the Michael Hyatt's free focus journal. So I do the same analog for the week, and then, plan it all out digitally 2 weeks, and then put it analog for the week. And then you take notes, and I keep that it's quarterly based. So I keep that by quarter for each fiscal year. So I have 4 books, for an FY, and that helps out for notes and emergencies, everything else. We're able to, it's a catalog filing system. So it helps out.
Yeah, I tried switching to digital, like note taking and stuff when I came here, because our laptops we have are one of those like yoga ones. You can like write, it becomes like a tablet, you can write on it and everything. And I'm like, oh great, I can just write on there, but it's not the same. I can't make my notes look like I take pride in making the penmanship nice and like laying them out nice. So I can't do that digitally. So I just still do it. By hand.
Have you ever misplaced or lost one of your books?
I haven't.
Yep,
I hope I never do, Phil. You just jinxed me.
Sorry, Ashley.
I left mine on a heat exchanger, Phil. So yeah, I got cooked.
Yeah,
So it's like
the other way. I went from paper to everything digital, you know what I mean? And I can get at it through the phone or through the laptop or whatever. So I just find it curious that, it's a great idea if it works for you, Because otherwise I'd be carrying manuals around and, it's easy to carry it electronically.
Oh, agreed. I think mine are only, just week based, and it's only something to make tangible, something you can reference and not look at the screen for 5 minutes. So yeah, no, I totally agree. Everything else is digital, and I just use it to extract the information I need. So.
And this is a really good example of my note taking. This is why I do it on my paper. So it's a flow notes. So you can see like one box flows to another box, flows to another box, flows to another box. And I'm a freak because I handwrite everything. But that's why I put on this presentation. Because I'm crazy when it comes to organizing.
We're all
That's
crazy.
probably why I'm the VP of logistics.
We're all crazy in our own way. So
Yeah, that's true. We're
as
all
long as it
weird
works. As long as it works.
so far. Well, I don't want to take up any more more time than we need to. I'm sure everyone will always take back the 15 minutes. Does anyone have any final thoughts, discussion, questions for me? And I'm always available via LinkedIn, or if you have, I'm not going to put my new work. I don't have my new work email. I'm not going to put my old work email. So find me on LinkedIn. But if you guys have any more questions or anything before we split, I know it's a lot to take in, and now you're overwhelmed with everything you have in your inbox and on your desk and on your plate. But it's meant to take a breath and just look at it holistically. And we're here.
No, thank you very much for sharing. Nice job.
Thank you, Ashley.
Anytime.
Great job, Ashley. Thank you. Good luck in your new job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Nice job.
I'll talk to y'all soon. I think we can just stop recording.
Ashley, you still going to be involved with IFMA in your new job?